Hi, everybody. I know it's been a while since I've actually, posted a video of me actually talking on here. In case you couldn't figure out from my last two videos, something bad has happened in my life. Unfortunately, back basically 18 days ago on July the 4th, 2021, my father died. I had an amazing relationship with him. He was an amazing person. I mean, he really was. And I'm not saying that because I was his kid, and I'm supposed to respect him and whatever. But he really was a wonderful person. I mean, he just, there's an old song, an old girl band song, to know him is to love him, and I do. That pretty much accurately describes my dad. I mean, if you ever really met him, you would have fallen in love with him immediately. I mean, not like I love you and I want to marry you kind of love you, but just, you would have just, fallen in love with his personality. I mean, you would have just immediately liked him, is what I'm getting at. I got to have him for my entire life, obviously. In the last almost 5 decades. I'm not 50 yet. Not for a few more years. But, it's been, the last 2.5 weeks, I can't lie, have been very hard for me. Watch it, and like I said in the descriptions of the first video of his honor walk, this was him leaving the hospital to head to the, not to the cemetery. Was in the cemetery? I don't think so. Try the morgue. He was leaving, and it's just, you could hear me breathing through the entire thing. It's not because I was out of breath. It was because I was about this close from breaking down and actually sobbing like a baby through the entire thing, and I was trying to hold it together so I could shoot the video on my cell phone like I'm doing right now and not completely lose my shit. Excuse my language. I mean, it was very hard for me to shoot that because my father died at the VA over in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is located by the zoo. And I don't know if you can hear it in the second video, but you hear like a lot of popping noises. It was the 4th of July, and people over in Clifton were shooting off fireworks and stuff because it was the 4th of July and everything. And I could smell hot dogs and hamburgers and everything. And it's just, after I turned off the camera for the second video, I went, oh my God, I could smell hot dogs. And Mom's like, she totally missed the point, I hate to say. She's like, she missed me saying, I smell hot dogs. She said, I don't know what she thought I said, but she looked at me and said, that's inappropriate. I'm like, how's me going, oh my God, I smell hot dogs. Offensive. I mean, because I went, ew, Lord, I smell hot dogs. I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, I don't know who was grilling hot dogs out there that night, but I could smell it. It's just because where my husband works, at a place that makes hot dogs, I could smell hot dogs right away. I mean, I could be like 300 feet away from the nearest grill with hot dogs on it, and I could smell it. I mean, and I could tell you it was hot dogs. I mean, it's like, oh my Lord. They have a distinct smell when they're being cooked in the plant. And I can smell that smell when they're being cooked on the grill. I'm like, eh. I'm like, ew. But that aside, Dad had full military service on the 10th, which was, like 2 Saturdays ago, basically. And if you've never actually seen one live and in person, it's an experience. I have to tell you, it really is. It's an experience. And it's just, the hardest part of it was, I didn't cry during his funeral. It's just because, it's not that I wasn't upset about him dying. I was, okay? It's just, I felt so many different emotions. I felt like I was going to go 50 different directions at once. And I was just trying to hold my stuff together. So, it was hard. Okay, I mean, that's why I got cried, because it's just, I felt like I was being pulled so many different ways. I just was like, I just can't deal with this right now. I just was numb. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, what did kind of hurt me a little bit was I had written a eulogy and I wasn't allowed to give it. You know, and my husband wasn't allowed to give it. I'm not going to give it here just because I don't have a hard copy of it, and I can't read it off my phone and shoot a video on my phone at the same time either. You know, I'd have to go back out and print it out hard copy, or, you know, basically, yeah, I'd have to print it out, to be honest with you, you know, and I'm not in the mood to go do that right now. Well, that, and it's, you know, according to my clock, it's almost midnight on, what, the 17th? Yeah, so, July 17th, 2021. Yeah. But probably by the time I upload this, it'll be after midnight. So, you know, yeah. But I can tell you what I basically said in it, because I do remember that. I talked about, you know, the fact that my dad unconditionally loved me, and, you know, I loved him, and he loved my husband, he loved my mom, you know, and he loved everybody in our family, you know, and I have to tell you, he died from let's try that in English. He died from complications of Parkinson's. If you don't know what Parkinson's is, let me tell you, okay, it is a very bad degenerative disease. It's kind of like, if you know what MS is, it's basically, it's kind of, sort of, it's kind of like that, but not really, okay? I mean, it's, just to give you a general idea, the two are kind of, sort of, you know, it's like you just, basically your body falls apart is what it is. Long story short, and he gets dementia with it. He had dementia with it. I was with him when he went. And that was that was another problem that I had. It's just, I couldn't sleep that night, because I'll tell you what, my brain basically pooped its pants when Dad went. I was like, Dad, you know, I mean, it's just, I gotta tell you, if you've never been around when a loved one dies, or when anybody in general has died, just of natural causes, not of execution or whatever, but of natural causes, to actually be there when that happens, it just, if you've never seen it happen before, your brain just goes, you just basically lose it, you know, I mean, but yeah, in the eulogy, I have to go back to this first. I talked about how much he loved our family. I talked about, I mentioned my late mother-in-law, Marcy. There's a story about her. I talked about, actually, no, I took that out. I had that in there and I took it out. Because it involved other people that I'm not going to talk about here. But I talked about how Dad loved Tony. And, you know, when I got married to Tony, my dad happened to be a huge Elvis Presley fan. Huge. Just huge. I grew up listening to Elvis. My dad rocked me to sleep to Elvis. So I think my dad looked like Elvis, sounded like Elvis. Of course, I associate him with Elvis because, you know, the first 7 years of my life, my dad would rock me to sleep to Elvis. So, you know, it's no wonder I associate Dad with Elvis. Well, I reworked part of an Elvis song to be about me and Dad, or Dad and myself, I should say. And I mentioned this in the eulogy, is You Don't Know Me. That's the song, You Don't Know Me. It's like, at the end, it's like I went, you give your hand to me, and you say goodbye. And I'll let you walk away with Tony on your wedding day. I hope you know your father loves you. So, and I ended it with, Dad, you don't know me. Just thinking about it chokes me. I'm sorry. It's just, it's still just raw. That the whole thing is raw. And it is, trust me. He's been gone 2 weeks, and seems like it's been 2 years, but it's not. And it's just, I miss him. And then I talked about also when I got married to Tony, I was so worried about my dad. I was really worried about him because I had on this great big old huge dress that must have weighed 30, 40 pounds by itself. Just the dress. I mean, I'm not talking about what else I had on underneath it. It was a great big old hoop skirt. And the train went out like a good 2 feet behind me. My mother, I had 2 veils, and I didn't get the point of why I had to have the second one. The first one was like a little short one that ended like right here by my shoulders. The other one, I may as well have been wearing a tablecloth. I jokingly told my cousin who's in the Marines and who was in boot camp when I was getting my dress. I told him, I said, I may as well be wearing a tablecloth. The thing went out like this much further behind my train, which was a good, like I said, 2 feet behind me. And I'm like, Mom, that's more veil than I need. She's like, too bad you're getting it. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I had to tell Dad, I'm like, hey, listen. And he saw me in the dress before I, got my wedding day. And I said, Dad, look. I'm like, since we're here at my house, look, you're going to have to, I go, this is what I've been yapping about to you. You're going to kind of have to grab my dress from behind. I'll hold still, because Dad had a bad leg. He broke his leg back in 2004 in an accident at work. He had a 250-pound motor fall on his legs while he was at work, and he'd just pulled the thing up on one of those engine things that they, use to pull engines out with, the mechanics do, and somehow oil got spilled on the floor beneath him, and he didn't see it. His legs went one way, the engine went another, completely broke this leg, like here all the way through. And it's just, and really damaged the right leg. This is his left leg. Really damaged his left leg. It broke, everything all the way clear through it. And my poor dad. When I got married to Tony, and I mentioned this in the old year, I was scared to death that something would happen and we would fall and Dad and I would end up in this big heap at the altar at the front of the church. And I was scared to death. I thought, oh Lord, just please don't let him fall. It worked out with Dad. I was like, Dad, look, you're gonna have to, watch out back there. There's, a whole lot of clothing back there, so you're gonna have to, kind of grab a hold of me and just, pull that up. I could feel it actually, and we have it on video. It's, he did it. He just grabbed it. You could see him grabbing my dress, hocking it up, and just walking around. I told him, I said, you're gonna have to pull it up. Walk around because I don't want you to fall on your face. And I don't want you, me backwards. Because, and I mentioned this at the I was afraid the two of us would end up in a zebra-colored mess up at the front. Because I was wearing all white. He was in black, and it's just, I thought, oh, Lord, just please don't let, I'm like, the last thing I need is for me to get married and the two of us to end up in this big heap at the front. That'd be fun to untangle the two of us and then get both of us up. Because I've got all these layers on and, it's all these clothes and, and Dad, my poor Dad. I was afraid that it would mess his leg up worse. And then I said, I ended it with, because I was going to have Tony read it. And I said, thank you for listening, and then before I ended it, I talked about, I have a lot of happy memories, a lot of memories of Dad. Not all of them good, not all of them bad, but, I have a lot more good memories of him than I do bad. And I do. And I said, thank you for listening to, my wonderful husband talk about a man who I love a whole lot, my dad. And, I said, I have other stories about my dad and myself, that I don't want to make Tony stand here and tell. If you want to hear some of them later, let me know, and I'll tell them to you later. We didn't get to, it is what it is. I mean, other people talked, and it's just us, I was kind of let down about that. I mean, and it's, I ended up sharing what I actually wrote on Facebook, but I fixed it to where Mom couldn't see it. Yeah, sorry. Mom, if you're watching this video, sorry about that, but you'll live. She saw it. Mom wasn't too happy with me. I was like, okay, Mom, whatever. We're not going to argue. I'm like, Mom, we're not going to get in an argument about this. We have bigger things to worry about. It's like, Dad, I picked up Dad's casket. It was this really beautiful, dark, navy blue casket. It was beautiful. It was just beautiful. It was a very pretty casket. They were Christian. It had crosses, like, all the way around it, like, in the corners and stuff, and then in the thing, like, above, on the lid, above where his face would be, and it's, like, in God's hands, and it had, like, 3 crosses and, like, a sunrise. It was very pretty, and it was, the lining was, like, a baby blue color. It was very, very, very pretty, and Mom was pleased with it. I mean, and I said, well, I was like, Dad deserves the best. I mean, my dad didn't exactly have an easy life. And I mean, and no matter how hard things got for my dad, he was always generally in a good mood. I mean, he just, granted he had his days. I mean, who doesn't, right? But I mean, for the most part, like, he loved me. Like, I'd come over after I got married, and I'd, like, hug him, give him a big kiss and tell him how much I love him, and just squeeze him big, and he loved getting hugs from me. I mean, he loved a lot of my cousins and his siblings, and he really adored my mom. One thing Dad said to me before he passed away and before he stopped talking, he told me to be extra good to my mom, and, that he loved her and everything, and I just recently told Mom that, and she broke down in tears crying. I said, Mom, Dad knew for some time he was getting ready to go. I'm like, because he was saying things to me that, I go, it's like, they know that they're getting ready to go. I mean, because if you've never been around somebody who's got a terminal illness and it's getting down to the wire where they're getting ready to go, they start saying things, and you look at them like they've got 2 heads. You're like, and when he started saying that kind of stuff to me, I realized what I was hearing. I heard it for what it was, and I told him, I said, well, Dad, I love my mom, it's, come on, and, he just, I just told him, I said, Dad, Dad, I'm going to try my best to be good to her. She's her own woman, and I love her, but, I'll do what I can, Dad. I'll try. That's all I can do. Dad looked at me and said, that's all I expect you to do is to try, honey. And I've sat around and thought about things with my dad and everything. Like, back, I gotta tell this story. This made me laugh. I thought about this, yesterday morning, basically. I was thinking about when I was in the 7th grade. Now I have to put some perspective on this first. When I was in the 7th grade, this was pre 9/11. Okay, so we're talking 1988, 89. I know I'm kind of telling my age, but like I said, I'm almost 50. So, me being a teenager in 7th grade, it was more like 87, 88, 1987, 88 was that school year. If I was to write now, post 9/11, in the 21st century, I can tell you I would go to jail for this, okay? This is pretty bad. And I don't know what possessed this teacher. To this day, I still don't know why she gave this assignment, but she did. I had a World Civ teacher give us the assignment of a day with no rules. This is like, think like The Purge, okay? You know, I love The Purge, okay? I don't know if I mentioned this story before on here before, but I want to tell this now because it relates to my dad. Well, what happened is my dad, as I mentioned, you know, was responsible for, you know, repairs and design and, you know, stuff all over the world for conveyor belts. And he was the manager and he traveled a lot with his job. Yeah, I mean, he made decent money doing it. But Mom and I flew up to see him. Okay. Well, the teacher gave us a day with no rules. And like I said, think like The Purge. You're allowed to do pretty much anything and everything you want to do. Okay, let's just say I was bad. I was very, very, very bad. I mean, it is what I did. Let's see. And I still remember what I did. And I got an A on this paper. And the teacher made comments about it. And once I tell you what I did, I'll explain why. Okay. I started out by, I hijacked a plane. And this is, you have to think this is 1987, 88. Okay, not later. Let's see. I hijacked a plane to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to see my dad. I stole a limo with a driver. Yeah, so it's a kid. There's that. Let's see. I made the driver drive my mom and myself to my dad's hotel to meet my dad. I made his boss give my dad the day off with pay so I could spend time with him. Okay. And, you know, and this is a Saturday. Being awful. You know, and what we did was we went to Constitution Hall up there in Philadelphia. I trashed the place. I turned all the pictures and the tables and the chairs and the desks and everything upside down and made it just trashed the place. I just and chucked chairs out the window and screamed and yelled, hooped and hollered, spray painted it. You know, I was awful. I was just an unholy terror. I had help from some folks, you know. And then, it gets worse. I went across the street to the FBI building. And, you know, us Americans and our guns, I'll tell you what. I stole a bunch of guns and ammo from the FBI. I stole a bunch of guns from the FBI. Well, you know, day with no rules. You know, hey. And then I went across the street one more time and did something that the British never could do. I stole the Liberty Bell. So here I am. I've trashed Constitution Hall. I've made off with a bunch of guns and ammo. And I stole the Liberty Bell. Oh, it gets worse. I mean, you think that's bad. It just gets progressively worse. I was horrible. I went to Ben Franklin's house. Made a giant mess there. I broke his printing press. The original one that this man used. Okay. I burnt his house down. Let's see, what else did I do? Oh, that was terrible. I went and found out where he was buried, dug him up, and beat him for an hour. Just because I felt like it. You know. Let's see. And then I went back to, I ate a bunch of food. I ate, like, during all of this, I went and got me some free food. And, you know, Philly cheesesteaks and fries and what have you, and made sure Dad and Mom ate really well. And the driver, too. The driver apparently got, you know, fed really... We've made sure he ate really, really good. You know, and we got, like, all kinds of, like, awesome food and stuff. And we're all eating good in the hood, you know. Then we went back to the hotel. Okay. Once we took everything that I stole to the room, I went across the street to the bakery that was across the street from the hotel. It was like this little itty-bitty building by itself across the street. I could see it from the hotel. And I'm sitting here writing this, 12, 13 years old. I robbed the bakery and got a bunch of sugary, God knows what, all kinds of trash, brought back to the hotel. Me and some other folks ate it. I jumped up and down on the bed like a little crazy person, screamed and yelled, hooped and hollered, went swimming in the hotel pool until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, ran up and down the halls like I hadn't had any lick of sense. I was called, how much sugar did you eat? I was, tweaking sugar. I was high as a kite on sugar, and I'm like, I was like that Kevin kid from Home Alone, but on a sugar high, Oh, I was awful. And then I had the limo driver pick us back up in the morning. And Mom and I got back in the plane, and we flew first class up there. By the way, I think I might have forgot to mention that detail. We flew first class up there, and we, had the pilot come talk to me and everything. Repeat of trip home. First class, and I went, sat in the cockpit with the pilot for a while and yapped with him. Well, or her. And we flew home. We got back here to Kentucky, and I had them put premium unleaded gas in my mom's van she drove at the time. I had them fill it completely up, full of gas, of the good gas, of the expensive stuff. And then we got a police escort home from the airport. And that was what I did. And, don't come arrest me, and I'm not promoting doing any of that, okay? I want to say that right now at the end. Don't get the idea that I'm promoting that. I'm not, okay? This is just a paper that I wrote when I was 12, and I still think it's funny. But it involves my dad. I found myself laughing. Dad read this paper, by the way. I was thinking about this. Dad laughed his butt off. He thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever read in his entire existence. And he says, I wonder what your teacher's going to think when she gets a hold of this. I said, hard telling. Well, fast forward to the following Tuesday. Okay, we're back here in Kentucky, and I'm in school. The teacher gets up in front of the class and says, okay, there's only one person that got an A on this paper, and it's Melanie. And she said, I'll tell you why. She said, everybody except her robbed the Ameristop up the street from the city building. She said, Melanie, on the other hand, was an unholy terror and just got turned loose in Philadelphia. Apparently, was misbehaving in another state. Yeah. Because I actually did go see Constitution Hall, and I did make a mess there. I behaved myself. I also behaved in the FBI building. I didn't take anything. Okay? And no, I didn't steal the Liberty Bell. I did see it. I do have pictures of me with it. Just for the record. I have a picture of my 12, 13-year-old self with the Liberty Bell. And no, I didn't steal it. I don't know where I'd put it here. And it can stay in Philadelphia for all I care. I don't want it. Because, if I wanted to go look at a bell, I'd go down to Newport and look at the World Peace Bell. That sucker's more bell than the Liberty Bell. But anyway, Dad thought that was so funny, and I found myself thinking about that and laughing. And like I said, I would never, and I'm not promoting it, and I don't recommend it. Don't do what I suggested. Or don't do what I did in that paper, okay, at all. And if the police and anybody's watching this, I have no intention of doing what I said I was going to do in that paper, okay? This was, I would have been labeled a terrorist for this. This is why I'm saying, things are different. None of the kids believed that I went down there. Of course, the kids I went to high school with, or in middle school with, were a bunch of... Never mind. They were, you know how kids are. I'm not going there with that one. But anyway, I just, my dad thought that was hysterical. And I got an A on the paper. Dad was so proud of me. He's like, you go, girl. I'm like, Dad, this is bad stuff. And I said, if it had been any other assignment, I would have probably went to jail for this. And he says, you're right, you probably would. You probably would end up in federal prison for this. And I said, well, at least I'd be having fun with you. I said, yeah, I'd be spending time with you and you'd be laughing at me. Yeah, Dad and I would be going to jail together. Oh, I told Dad, I said, yeah. But it's just, I found myself thinking about that ridiculous paper, and it's just, I really wished I could have, got up and talked about that at Dad's funeral, about that ridiculous paper. I mean, it was funny. I mean, and it's just, I had a lot, my dad was a stinker. I'm trying to think of, well, he thought that, like, for example, he thought that paper was hilarious. He says, don't ever do that. I mean, he wasn't encouraging it either, so, but he just said, that's you going off and being bad, I need to talk about when he died earlier this month on the 4th. Well, the last 64 days of his life, which ended on the 4th of July, it was like May 1st through July the 4th. Those 64 days, 2 months and 4 days, or 3 days, or whatever, because it was basically almost the 5th. He died at 7:20 at night on the 4th. I was the last person he said anything to. It wasn't some great oration or some soliloquy or whatever. The last thing he said was a whisper, and it was one word. It was hi. Just like that. He knew what was going on. He knew who was in the room with him. He'd squeeze my hand. Mom believed that he was angry at her at the end. He wasn't angry at me, because I was coming in there and I'd pay all kinds of attention to him. I trimmed his fingernails for him, like the week before he died. And I told him, I said, Dad, seriously, your nails look awful. My dad was the kind of person who he had an opinion. He just was very particular about how he looked. My father was just this very clean person. He didn't like, he thought a man should be, presentable at all times, like, clean nails, shaved face, and that he, should look presentable at all times, if he could. I mean, Dad realized, things happen sometimes, job, you get sweaty, nasty, gross, if if you have that kind of job, you come home stinky, go take a bath, wash everything off, but, look presentable. Dad was very particular about how he looked. Just like his dad, Grandpa was that way, he was particular about how he looked, too. But yeah, I trimmed Dad's fingernails, and you could tell he was laying there dying, and he loved that, that I was paying attention to it. I said, Dad, really, your nails are, like, way too long for you. I said, let's trim these nails. I said, Dad, you've got nastiness on it. I said, let's make you look presentable here. And I mean, Mom shaved his face, and we're just like, come on, Dad, you come over here and let me trim your nails. I had to get a fingernail clipper for Mom. I said, a lot better, Dad. And he squeezed my hand. I'm like, I'd trimmed all 10 of his all his fingernails, his thumbs too. And I said, Dad, there, you look better. I said, lots better, Dad. And a smile flitted across his face. I said, lots better. I said, there you go. I'd play music for him. One song I wish I'd played for him, and like I played it now and I start crying, is Amazing Grace by Pentatonics. Because that was one of Dad's favorite songs, was Amazing Grace. I I did play, you know, a lot of gospel music for him. He loved gospel music. You know, like one song that I played for him was by Alan Jackson is "I Want to Stroll Over Heaven with You." I'd play that, and he reacted to that song. I mean, he like relaxed or something. I don't know. It's like I kind of felt him relax a little bit, you know, and he, you know, I would play "You Raise Me Up" by Josh Groban. Dad apparently liked that song a lot because he'd squeeze my hand real big when I'd play that for him, and I'd sing it to him, and you know, it's like he really reacted to that song. And after he died, Mom and I got together with some other folks, and we pulled some photos together of Dad from over the years, and we took it to the funeral home director to put into like a CD to play with some music at Dad's funeral. Well, I told the funeral director, I said, look, a song that I want in there is "You Raise Me Up" by Josh Groban. And if I had my head out of my rear end, I would have said, and "Amazing Grace" by Pentatonics. You know, and, you know, I just, Dad would have liked that. But there was 3 songs that was picked out. "You Raise Me Up" by Josh Groban, "Forever and Ever, Amen" by Randy Travis, and "In the Garden" by Elvis Presley. Like I said earlier, Dad was a huge Elvis Presley fan. Yeah, the video turned out okay, but there was some photos that didn't make it that I was disappointed that didn't get in there, but oh well, it is what it is. You know, a song that I didn't pick, I was like, yeah, oh well. Anyway, I'm sorry I kind of rattled on here. You know, I just, you know, had a lot I felt like I needed to say. And in closing, please don't come look for me and arrest me for what I said about that story I wrote years and years ago. I mean, this is, like I said, it was, you know, like a Purge type story, okay? I mean, that's how I see it, is, you know, a la the Purge, like I said before. Anyway, you know, I hope you all have a good night, and I'm sorry I've blabbed on and on and on, but sometimes, you know, you just wind up with things to say. I've got other things I want to talk about on my other channel. So, thanks for watching and listening to me blab on about my late father. You all have a good evening, or should I say good morning.